the Glenburgie 10-year-old. Now, this whiskey is the third in the series of tastings that I've done. I'm Andy Anderson from the Single Malt Whisky Club Australia, and you have hopefully tried the Glentorquis 1991 and also the Benromach Traditional, which I've both highly reviewed. So today we're moving on to a different whiskey, and this one is the Glenburgie 10-year-old. So I guess it's always good to start with a little bit of background on the distillery itself. This is a very old distillery. It was opened in 1810, and it was originally called Kiln Flat. It traded like that for about 60 years and was closed in 1870, and it was reopened again in 1878. And that's when it started trading as the Glenburgie Whisky Distillery. Changed hands a number of times and was recently, about 50 years ago, bought by Allied Distillers, and they use the Glenburgie as the base whisky for the Ballantines and also the Old Smuggler blended whiskies. It's a really interesting distillery, and I'll just go through a little bit of the background before I taste it. But what I've read is that the barley in Glenburgie is only very lightly peated. Only put just a minimal amount of peat in, which is supposed to give character but not a lot of flavour. So almost indetectable levels of peat for character. So anyway, we'll have a look for those. The other thing is that the water in the distillery, a lot of new distilleries are using pure distilled water to break down their whiskies, but with Glenburgie they actually have a spring in the distillery grounds that they still use to add when they make their dilutions for the whiskies, and also to extract the sugars out of the barley. It's actually their own spring water. So that kind of makes it a little bit interesting. The only other background I can give you is that O.N.E.S. MacDonald said of Glenburgie that it's one of his 12 great malts of Scotland. So that puts it in pretty high stead. So if we have a look at this whiskey, you can see that it's a very bronzy colour. That usually indicates that it's aged in sherry butts. This one is aged in first fill and refill sherry hoggies. So it does have that beautiful bronzy, golden, almost treacly colour from the sherry butts, and that would indicate that the whiskey is probably going to taste a little bit like a sherry malt. And so if we pop the cork and have a look at him, there you can see in the glass that that's a really bronzy, browny colour. Yeah, you get lots and lots of Christmas cake and Christmas pudding actually. Oh, yum. It's not far away from Christmas, and that's really got me thinking about, I'm almost expecting to find sixpence in it. Really Christmas pud sort of flavour. I don't get any of the peatiness or the peat that's supposed to be in there, but it has been said that it's a very light level of peating. Maybe I'm just imagining it because I know it's in there, but yeah, maybe at the back underneath all of the Christmas cake and Christmas pud, then what? Yeah, okay, I'll go along with that. Maybe a little bit of peat. It's a very, not sweet, but a rich smelling whiskey. Reminds me a little bit of golden syrup in the nose. So, yeah, maybe a caramelly nose as well. It's really good. Oh, the palate just sings. a really, really intense Christmas pud. Really soft and elegant. But powerful, gentle, but powerful. Does that make sense? Probably not, but it does when you taste it. It's full and creamy and luscious, but it's also soft and delicate and interesting. Multiple layers, and it's almost like, you know, when you eat the Christmas cake and you get a little chunk of dried apricot and then maybe a little chunk of glacéed cherries, and there's all those different little chunks of dried fruit. Well, that's kind of what drinking this is like. There's all these different flavours that come through all the time, and it's like eating a Christmas pud and getting the custard. Oh, it's just scrumptious. It reminds me a little bit of Glenfarclas, actually. I guess Glenfarclas is the only other reasonably priced whiskey that is only aged in sherry butts. So I can see the parallel there from the aging. They're both Speyside whiskies as well, so not too far away from each other. And yeah, this is probably, well, I can't take anything away from Glenfarclas. It's a wonderful whiskey, but this is a comparably good whiskey. I'd say if you like Glenfarclas, this is going to knock your socks off. It's really beautiful. It's pretty good value for money. I think it's about $90. Have a look on the website, www.singlemalt.com.au/store, and have a look for the Glenburgie. Grab it. It's a beauty.